Tom say he was a bare knuckle fighter. I'll let her tell the story. But he's on a lot of murder maps, TV shows, etc. Or it mentions him.
Right, so we're looking at the grave of Tom Sayers. Looking at his grave, what do you think he did?
Bare knuckle fighter?
You ruined it! No, I'm joking. No, just because I like to, I go on about occupational symbolism and then I confuse people by saying, no, he wasn't a dog breeder or anything like that. He was a boxer. He was a bare knuckle fighter, originally from Brighton. He was a bricklayer by trade, but became in fact, a very well-known boxer. It was an illegal sport at the time, and in fact very dangerous, even more so than today. There were no Queensberry rules, so a round lasted until someone was knocked out. There were no boxing gloves, and there were no weight divisions. So you can imagine Tom Sayers was fighting a lot of people much bigger than himself, but he was almost an undisputed champion across England. And he became very well known. Although he was not a very large man himself, he was only about 5'8". He was said to have had a very strong neck and shoulders, and he was almost unbeaten. His most famous and final fight was against an American called Jack Heenan. It took place in a field in Hampshire, and they had a huge audience. A lot of people came out to see them fight. It was considered to be probably the world's first boxing international title fight. The fight didn't go so well. There were a number of disruptions, and it looked at one point like Heenan was going to beat Sayers. Sayers fans surged into the ring. There was a bit of an altercation, a couple of times in fact, and eventually the referee just decided to call it a draw because of safety concerns. So everybody went home. Sayers was technically undefeated. However, his fans felt that his health was at peril, and they clubbed together, did a sort of modern version of, or a Victorian version of crowdfunding, and raised, I think, £5,000 by public subscription to help him retire. He bought a pub in Camden called the Bricklayers Arms. There are several pubs of that name around London, but that one itself is no longer around. He only died a few years later, however. Unfortunately, he had a number of health problems. He was a heavy drinker, and I believe he had tuberculosis as well. So yeah, he didn't last very long. His funeral was probably one of the biggest working class funerals London has ever seen. Thousands of people lined the route from Camden Town to Highgate, and even more were clamouring to get inside the cemetery to come beside his grave. They say about, I think it was 100,000 people along the route. At the head of the procession was Tom Sayers' dog. His name was Lion. He was a bull mastiff, probably something like a Great Dane that we know today. He was wearing a black morning collar made of crepe, as is the custom of the day. He went on to be bought at an auction by one of Tom Sayers' friends, and lived quite a few years after, longer than Tom. There you go.
Brilliant. Really interesting. Fabulous.